The Joe Rogan Experience.
No, yeah.
The worst possible scenario. Like, did you see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
I did.
So those flower kids, right? The murderous flower, the Manson kids.
Those,
that's like worst case scenario.
Yeah.
And sometimes we think about people just on, just because that's a possibility. And it's such a glaring one, but it gets a disproportionate amount of energy and interest. Because for the most part, most people are super fine.
Yeah.
Most people are great. Most people are friendly. Most people just want to have a good time in this life. They're not assholes.
Right, exactly. And even the Manson kids, there's probably a couple of them that were fun.
I bet there was. The girl who took off. The girl who was like, hey, I'll be right back.
Oh, yeah.
That girl in
you know
real
who
life
she is?
did take off. No, who is it?
In real life?
Who?
Did you watch Stranger Things?
Yes.
She's she's Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman's daughter.
What?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
That's
she was the one in
crazy.
the two worked in the ice cream shop.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
what
her.
I thought you were going to say, the actual Manson kid that did take off. Because
Oh,
there wasn't. What's
I
that?
meant the one in real life.
Oh, in
that's
real
what I did
life?
too.
Oh.
Yeah, you confuse the shit out of everybody.
I'm so sorry.
Did you see that story going around when we were talking about the other day? That story with Bruce Lee that was loosely based in reality.
Yeah.
It had to do with Gene LeBell.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
He was a stuntman on like the Green Hornet or something.
Okay,
like that.
well, let me tell
But
you this.
he said
then.
it wasn't real though.
Let me tell you this then, because talking from Gene was always. I've known Gene for years. He's always super respectful about Bruce Lee, but he's okay. Let me put it this way: if that actually did happen that way, if Bruce Lee fought Gene LeBell would grab a hold of him and obliterate his brain on the concrete 100 out of 100 times.
Oh, really?
'Cause let me just say that. So I'm not talking about the movie. And like there was a thing in the movie where I felt like they made Bruce Lee seem like a buffoon. And I'm like, ooh, I don't think he was ever really like that. Like, this is like kind of an important historical figure for martial arts. And I get it's just a crazy Quentin Tarantino movie. And I get it. The end of the movie did not, spoiler alert, I don't want to say what happened, but he takes liberties for entertainment's sake with a lot of different things.
Yeah.
But with that one, I was like, ooh, I'm just going to have some random dude that is a stuntman and Bruce Lee's a buffoon to him and he kicks his ass on the set. But with that said, if that was a real life event with Gene LeBell and Bruce Lee, Gene LeBell would crush him.
So Gene LeBell
He's
could
a
have.
gorilla.
That would have been him in that scene.
Oh yeah, but it would have been quick.
Right.
It would have been a different thing, man. He's a gorilla.
Right.
I mean, he's like a judo champion with a severe arsenal of neck cranks and joint locks, and he is strong like a fucking bear. I mean, dude, in his prime, he was a tank of a man.
Really?
Far bigger than Bruce Lee.
Oh, wait.
And
Bruce Lee was small, right?
He was a small guy. Look, Bruce Lee was an innovator in martial arts and one of my personal heroes.
Yeah.
He's like the most important early innovator because he was the first guy to think that you should combine the best elements of all these different styles. When I was coming up, man, I was doing Taekwondo, and you were brainwashed to think that Taekwondo was the best martial art. Everything else was bullshit, and you shouldn't even practice it. So if I was practicing other stuff, like I was doing some boxing, or I was doing something, like I'd get some frowns from some people.
Yeah.
It was like a thing. And if you were in some schools that were less open-minded than mine, my school was a little more practical than some of them, but some of them, they would say kung fu or death. Like, all they wanted to do was fucking kung fu. They're doing this shit in the park. And you couldn't say, hey, man, a wrestler's going to grab a hold of you, and he's going to just pound you into a fucking tree, and there's not a goddamn thing you can do about it.
There's
Gene LeBell. There's Gene LeBell, who was... He was in a bunch of different movies as a stuntman.
Oh yeah, that looks like Green Hornet.
That's it.
Yeah, they became friends.
So they were very good friends, and he had nothing but good things to say about Bruce Lee. But he said he taught Bruce Lee a lot, like some of the moves that Bruce Lee used an arm bar in one of the early scenes in Game of Death. That was from Gene LeBell. Gene LeBell, I guarantee you, helped him here. But look at this, like. If Gene LeBell really wanted to grab a hold of Bruce Lee would be unconscious, as would I, as would many, many, many other trained martial artists.
Not Jamie.
Bruce Lee was Bruce Lee was a fantastic martial artist. And like I said, one of the most innovative guys ever. We don't even realize how much his style had a gigantic effect on making untold millions of people sign up for martial arts classes,
Right.
including me.
Right.
And
And part of it was
amazing.
because he was a movie star,
Right.
right? He had the looks and the charisma
Yes.
that allowed him to bring it onto
Yes.
film and show everybody.
He had everything. He had
Right.
philosophy. He had a deep understanding of all these different martial arts, and he had the courage to try to combine them, which
Right.
was unheard of at the time.
Where did
it got him
he-
exercise from a lot of these kung fu like circles.
Where did he learn it?
He learned it from a bunch of different places. I mean, he learned it
In the
from
US?
books. He learned it in China. He learned different things from different people. I know he did. He worked with a lot of different martial artists, including Gene LeBell, who of course was a. What's Gene LeBell's judo credentials? I know. I guarantee he was a national champion. I think he was a world champion, but he was whatever he was. He's a fucking gorilla.
I feel like Kung Fu was more popular earlier.
Well, the UFC changed all that shit.
Yeah.
Ninth
Yeah.
Dan.
What is his?
Traditional judo.
But what is his competition accomplishments?
Blue belt? No. Yellow belt?
But if that makes sense that they kind of based it on him because he really was a legendary stuntman as well.
Wouldn't that be cool, though, if Tarantino had the inside scoop on that story? Maybe
Yeah,
that,
but Bruce Lee and him were friends. I guarantee you, like that didn't go down like that. They didn't have a
Right.
fight.
Right.
And if they did have a fight, Jesus Christ. I'm telling you, it would have been horrific.
Yeah.
That guy's a fucking gorilla. Judo people
Was
are
it-
different, man. They have a different their core.
Judo?
Their core is so goddamn strong. There's only a few judo guys that I ever rolled with that are like of consequence. Like Cairo Parisian was one of them.
Mm-hmm.
I think when I was a blue belt, I rolled with him, and he was like rolling with a chimpanzee. He just threw me around. I was like,
Oh, really?
Jesus Christ! It's so disheartening when you grapple with like a really good wrestler
Yeah.
or a really good judo person. They just have this insane ability to manipulate bodies.
It's crazy.
Okay, it says he won the National Heavyweight Judo Championship and the USA Overall Judo Championship title. So he won the National Heavyweight title, and he went on to win both the Heavyweight and Overall Champion in 1955 as well. So
Wow,
that's
55.
AA, National Amateur Athletics Union. I think that's AAU. I think that stands for. So that's a big time judo title, especially for back then in 1954. There probably wasn't that many judo championships. It was probably a fairly recent thing.
Where's judo come from?
Japan.
Japan?
Yeah, Japan
Oh,
Jiu-Jitsu does
JJ.
too. Even Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu really came from Japan because Count Maeda, who was this traveling judo master, he taught people in Brazil. He taught the Gracies. So the Gracie family in Brazil,
Yeah.
they took that Jiu-Jitsu and they refined it and made it much more emphasis on submissions because of Carlos Gracie and Elio Gracie and Carlson Gracie and like the early masters.
Right.
Really amazing story of one family that kind of revolutionized the way people fight on the ground.
And they just all focused on. Right. I remember.
Yeah, they just
maybe
were badasses.
Yeah.
And they would just fight each other all the time. And they were trying to figure out what works best. And
That's so cool.
they just got it down to a fucking science.
Here's the story from Gene LeBell about.
Okay, make this a little bigger. So can I read this? Because LeBell said that when he got on the set, Dobbins told him to put Lee in a headlock or something. So as LeBell went up and grabbed Lee, he started making all those noises that he became famous for. LeBell said, but he didn't try to counter me. So I think he was more surprised than anything else. So he probably just grabbed him, got him in a headlock.
Right.
Then LeBell lifted Lee onto his back, what's called a fireman's carry, and ran around the set with him.
Yeah.
He said, put me down or I'll kill you, Lee screamed. He said, I can't put you down or you'll kill me, LeBell said, holding Lee there as long as he dared before putting him down, saying, hey, Bruce, don't kill me. Just kidding, champ. Back on his feet again, Lee didn't kill LeBell. Instead, Lee recognized his lack of grappling was a deficiency in Jeet Kune Do style of martial arts that he was developing. See, so
Yeah.
there wasn't really a fight. But this is what I'm telling you. LeBell was so fucking powerful and such an amazing judo guy that if it was a fight, it would have been
Right.
really quick.
Right.
So if that's who he was supposed to be portraying in the movie, like if
Yeah.
they showed that the Brad Pitt character was some judo champion that became a martial artist later,
Right.
okay, maybe.
This guy was like a roofer.
Yeah, well, he was a beast. That was a fun part of the movie.
Yeah. It was great.
Fucking liked that movie, man.
Oh,
I'm
I
thinking
love
about
that
it a lot.
movie, and it's like split camps on it. Like just in my circle of friends that I run into, whatever. People either loved it and feel like they could have hung with it for 2 more hours, or people are like, "What's the point? What was the story? I don't get it."
Those I don't get it guys, keep a real close eye on them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Treat them like they're Jeffrey Epstein. You're trying to keep them alive. It's those people.
Yeah.
I don't understand their thinking.
I don't either. It was so
How could you not have
great.
enjoyed that?
Oh
It was
my
a
God.
wild ass movie. Like, were you not entertained? Like, there was a lot of times in that movie I was like, "Fuck,
Yeah.
whoa, ah." It's a great movie.
I could have just hung with it forever. And especially being out here in LA, it was just like that cool Musso and Frank's.
Yes, they didn't even have to do anything to make it look different.
I know.
That
It's
place
so great.
looks like it's from 1969.
Aren't we supposed to go?
Yeah, we're supposed to go.
Yeah.
You and me and Joey, we've been talking about it forever.
We got to do it.